Hello again, it's Tuesday, well, yes, Tuesday, second day of my video week, and the subject of today's review is Age of Extinction Deluxe Dinobot Slash. Now, Slash, as you probably know, if you've seen the film, was one of the Dinobots that was destined to be in the movie, but for production reasons got left out. Diddums. The main reason being is because he's based on a raptor, velociraptor, some kind of raptor. He doesn't obviously scale the same as the other Dinobots, and the way they was going to integrate him into the movie was to have a swarm of smaller Dinobots that was going to run alongside the bigger ones. And there was some concept art of Scorn charging down a motorway, you know, like a freeway, with a load of sort of Slash-like, sort of drone dino raptors running around his feet. And after a while they realised that, you know, a load of little tiny raptor-like things, although they'd be threatening towards, you know, humans, they'd be small fry to Transformers. You know, they'd be like little insects buzzing around their feet, so they decided to knock them on the head. So even though they did a lot of the concept art for the character, he got left out, which is a sad really, but when you look at the reasons why, you can understand why. But we still get a toy of what might have been, and here he is. Slashy slashy slash. Again, robotic raptor. As with all the other Dinobots, they went with a sort of separate colour for the toy. All the other Dinobots have a different colour scheme. You know, dark blue for Strafe, sort of a coppery, goldy colour, and silver for Grimlock. Bright red for Scorn, and Slug has got mostly purple and red on him. So, but they've got the base colours. This guy, they decided to go with bright blue and sort of like a limey yellow colour. It just looks stupid. It looks ridiculous. I mean, it was said that perhaps dinosaurs in their latter years, when they were starting to evolve into birds, they were, maybe some of them started, you know, sprouting premature feathers, and there might well have been some, you know, bright colourings on the scales of the actual dinos themselves, like the bright plumage on birds. But I doubt whether they'd have turned out like this. I mean, yeah, it's got the spiky aesthetic going on, but I mean, look at all this rubbish. Look at all these frills he's got all over him. I mean, they look stupid. They look ridiculous. And the fact that they are, you know, a totally contrasting colour to the base colour of the dino, it just looks awful, and I can't stand it. But then why did I buy it? Why did I buy this? And if you've watched my auto assembly haul video, you'll know I got more than one of these. I got two of them. The reasons for which will become apparent later on. But anyway, Dino mode. What can you say about it? Looks stupid, right? Articulation. His front arms are ball jointed. These things which actually come out, and his arm comes off. These things here, there is weapons in Dino mode. They're sort of like an axe, and as with all the other spines and spikes, they're made out of this soft rubbery plastic. But for the moment, we'll just stick them in there. In the Dino mode, they're in his forearms. They kind of get in the way of these rib details. So when you're trying to pose the arms, they sort of foul those. So you have to either bend them out of the way or spread them wide, which looks silly. His head sculpt is quite nice. He's got some black detailing, a red eye, and silver teeth. There is some articulation on the jaw. The jaw opens quite wide, and the top of the head also moves, but unfortunately it's a part of the transformation joint, so you get this disjointed look. So yeah, there is some articulation in the head. The legs, he's got, you know, typical bird legs, chicken legs. He's got, there's no articulation on the feet apart from a twist that's part of the transformation joint, but that can sort of, because of that, you can angle his feet. The legs on a ball joint and a pivot, and he's got a knee, and you can get some posability out of the legs, but not much. He's sort of not very well balanced, this guy. He tends to sort of fall over backwards or forwards depending on how you arranged him. And that's basically all the articulation you get on in Dino mode, which is a bit of a shame. And he's got a bit of visible fist syndrome going on his knees. But the rest of the robot kibble is quite well squirreled away. So let's go to Robo mode. So, there we have Slash in his Dino mode. And, oh dear. Them stupid yellow frills get in the way again. Most notably these ones here. He looks like he's wearing an upside down Hawaiian grass skirt. Somebody said there is a way you can actually make it look like he's got one, but I can't see how, seeing as the way they're arranged. But anyway, there he is. His legs are formed out of his neck and head. You sort of scrunch up the jaws, and then flip round the breast, you know, the neck pieces, and then pull out these feet. The chest section, there's like a brace around the chest section which is on pivots, which pivots round sort of 180 degrees, and then moves all his front section, all the forearms and the rib cage pieces from the front of the figure to the back, and these then become, well, basically shoulder pads and sort of kibble up here. His arms are basically the dino legs. They fold up to form these bulky, you know, gorilla-like arms. The dino feet again fold up. The dino claws fold up onto his arms, and they kind of work like slashing fists. You can pull them out, and then he can have like almost like slashing blades on the ends of his arms, but that's that. The tail folds down the back to reveal the head. And he's got an interesting head sculpt. He's got this slightly weird looking helmet. Again, something which I will elaborate on a little later when you see my custom paint job. The ball joints on the legs are a bit weak. He does have a tendency to fall over when you pose him. there's not much surface area on these feet. You know, the dino jaw acts like a kind of a heel. Articulation wise, he's got ball jointed shoulders, bicep swivel. His fists don't rotate, they're just on a pivot, so he's curling his fists inwards. The legs, ball jointed hips, thigh swivel, got a knee which goes back reasonably far, and the feet, you can, again, the feet, got issues with the feet, difficult to get him to stay on his feet. And that's about it. The aesthetic with these blue and these yellow things, just, I don't really care much for these colours. They don't do him any justice. The only other thing you can do, these frilly bits that's on his forearms, they can then become his sort of melee weapons, like so. And that's Slash. Not my favourite of the Dinobot line from Age of Extinction. I wouldn't recommend getting him. He's got kind of an interesting transformation, but he just looks stupid in these colours. He just looks ridiculous, and his aesthetic is not quite as good as the others with the old medieval knight thing. But I mean, I've seen the one-step changer version of this, and I'd really like to get hold of that, because in my opinion, it actually looks better than the deluxe version. But I haven't seen him on sale in the UK yet, so maybe a while before I get hold of him. But anyway, that's this guy. However, like I said, I bought 2 of these at Auto Assembly. So what's happened to the other one? You ready for this? Here's my custom paint job of Slash. Now, basically, fairly simple. I just blathered it with gunmetal. There's and I've obviously picked out the claws and the teeth with white paint. Also, I've cut off the frills. Cut off the frills on the legs. I've chopped back the frills on these on his weapons. So I've cut the frilly bits, so he's just got plain sort of axe blades now. And the most important one is them grass skirt frills that were on his back, which then on the robot mode end up here. I've chopped them right off. So I've cut off all of the rubbery frills, and I've also chopped down the tips of the frills on the tail and took the extra, because on his tail, if you look, he's got these bits here, and you compare it with that one, you can see the difference. But there he is. So, shall we put him to robot mode? Right, nearly done. Time for the head reveal. It's Bob the Builder! Bob the Builder, can he fix it? Bob the Builder, yes he can. I just think the helmet on the head sculpt, it's just like a hard hat. It's just like a safety helmet. So I've picked it out in bright yellow. And it looks like Bob the Builder. Yeah, so that's, apart from pure gunmetal and white, I put silver on the face shield, bright yellow helmet, and there he is in his robot mode. And it just looks the main difference between the two is cutting these frills off here, you can now see all the sort of like the upper thighs and abdomen area of the robot more clearly. And he's got these little spiky things on his knees, and I'm quite tempted to pick them out in silver. That might make a difference. But he's definitely different. What do you think? That's the second sort of custom paint job, and of course I went to town on this one. It's absolutely, there's barely a square millimetre on this figure that hasn't been covered with paint of some description. It took about 2 or 3 attempts because I did sort of the basic bit first and then touched in the white. I've used a Tamiya acrylic gunmetal. That's why it's nice and shiny, whereas the old Humbrol enamel gunmetal that I had was all sort of matte and grainy. This is all nice and shiny, and it does make a difference. And I think he looks great. Getting all the bits of blue was the hard part, because originally I didn't paint the ball joints and the cups for the arms, but I had to take them apart and do them again, because you could see slightest little bit of blue just sticks out like a sore thumb on this thing. I was tempted to do some silver highlights on his chest plating, and like I said, these little spiky things on his knees, but let's just put these back on the other figure. Sorry for the wait. And there we go, there they are together. Rubbish. Not so rubbish. Because I've picked his claws out in white, they definitely look a bit more like blades on his arms now, because they're highlighted some more. And you can see, because I've cut all especially the frills on his arms are gone, so you can see more detail on his arms. And it's just cutting off all the frilly bits that's made the difference on this guy. It's a bit crude where I've done it, because I sort of just deftly cut it off with a craft knife, and then I should have smoothed it off with the Dremel, but didn't bother doing that. Because it's this soft plastic, it was quite surprisingly difficult to cut cleanly. It just came off in lumps. So anyway, that's review number 2 for my video week, Tuesday. EB/IBTRF Wilderness, and we be out. See ya!